The first time I realized my family didn't see me, as their priority was during senior year of high school. My name's Caleb, and I wasn't exactly the golden child. That was my sister, Betrayal, the family diamond, the one with the perfect teeth, the ballet trophies, and the social media followers. She was always destined for bigger things, my parents said. Paris, to be specific. I was the quiet one, GPA high enough to win scholarships, hardworking. Even helped Dad on weekends fixing up the house. I had dreams too, but mine weren't wrapped in silk or stamped with a visa to Europe. I just wanted to study architecture, brick, beams, and design, simple, honest work that builds something lasting. I got into a respected program at a university just 2 hours away. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. When the tuition deposit came due, I brought the form to Mom and Dad, hopeful. I wasn't asking for the full amount, just help. With the gap my scholarship didn't cover, $5,000 for $100, that's what stood between me and my future. But instead of discussing it, Mom looked away. Dad sighed, tapping the envelope against the counter. We've decided to use that money for Betrayal's housing, he said. I blinked. What housing? For Paris, Mom added brightly. She needs to be near the Seine, where it's safer. And you'll manage, Caleb. You always do. That phrase, you'll manage. They've been saying that since I was 12 and learned how to fix my own lunches when they were busy with Betrayal's recitals. I didn't say anything. I nodded, then walked to my room, sat on the edge of my bed, and stared at the wall for a long time. That night, I emailed the financial aid office and begged for more support. Then I applied for every night shift and weekend job I could find. Warehouse lifting, tutoring spoiled kids, even dog walking at 4 a.m. Somehow, I pieced it together. I registered late, missed orientation, and started school a week behind everyone else. But I was there. Betrayal, meanwhile, posted stories from Paris. Brunches with other study abroad queens, sunsets with Eiffel Tower backdrops. Hashtags like hashtag DADDYS paid and hashtag blessed life. She even had a YouTube vlog called Paris with Betrayal, where she once casually said, "I'm so glad my family prioritized what matters." I lived in a basement apartment that flooded twice, wore second-hand jackets in the snow, and sometimes ate instant oatmeal for dinner. But I made it work. I interned, I climbed, I built things. For 4 years, I didn't go home. I couldn't, they never offered, and I didn't ask. But then, graduation arrived, against all odds. I made it, not just survived, I graduated top of my class, with a thesis project that had been selected for a city redevelopment exhibition. I didn't even invite them, but someone at the university's alumni office did, because of my family feature. In the graduation booklet, I'd become the face of the scholarship foundation that had picked me up when my own parents dropped me. So there they were. I saw them before they saw me, seated in the second row. Dad in his best blazer. Mom with that too bright lipstick she wore when she was nervous. And Betrayal, arms folded, sunglasses on her head, scrolling her phone. When they finally looked up, when I was called on stage, not just for my diploma, but as one of the honor speakers, their faces twisted and slow, stunned recognition. I stepped to the microphone, heart calm, voice steady. They had no idea what was coming next. I could see Dad lean toward Mom, whispering something. Betrayal's brows furrowed as she lowered her phone. She mouthed something to Mom. "What's happening?" I smiled into the mic. "I want to thank this university, not just for the education, but for the shelter," I began. Because 4 years ago, when my tuition was due, my parents made a choice. They chose to fund my sister's Paris dorm over my degree. There was a stunned silence. Somewhere in the second row, Mom's jaw dropped slightly. Dad sat stiff, trying to smile through it. I saw Betrayal squirm. They told me I'd manage. I continued. And they were right. I worked for jobs, skipped sleep, missed holidays, and still built a foundation stronger than any dorm with a view of the Seine. Gasps scattered across the auditorium. A few classmates turned to stare at my family. But I didn't do this speech for revenge, I added. I did it for every student who felt overlooked, unloved, unsupported, and still showed up. I did it for the kid in a basement apartment who ate oatmeal 5 days a week, and still dreamed of skyscrapers. I paused. The dean was wide-eyed. The audience was completely still. I dedicate my graduation, I said slowly, to the people who didn't believe in me, because they taught me how to believe in myself. The applause started low, hesitant, but grew into something thunderous. I stepped off the stage with my diploma in hand, walking right past my parents without a glance. Later, at the reception, I saw them again. Mom rushed up first, trying to act cheerful. "Caleb, that was dramatic," she said. You made us look terrible. I looked her in the eye. I didn't have to try. That was all you? Brielle chimed in. You didn't tell me you were giving a speech. You embarrassed the whole family? I tilted my head. Funny. I was told for years that I wasn't even worth mentioning. Now you care. Dad, red-faced, stepped in. Don't let your ego ruin this day. We're still your parents. I gave a small, cold smile. Parents invest in their children. You made a business decision. I'm just showing you the return on your investment. I left them standing there, stunned, silent. Exposed. The best part? The architecture firm that sponsored my thesis? They offered me a job in Paris. Not just a job, a lead on a renovation project in the exact neighborhood where Brielle had stayed. My reply to their offer was simple. Yes, I'll take it. I have some old ghosts I'd like to quietly walk past. What my parents didn't know was that I wouldn't just be working near Brielle's old dorm. I'd be buying the building next door. And that was only the beginning. 3 months after graduation, I was living in a sunlit apartment just off Rue de Rivoli, a clean, modern place with views of old rooftops and iron balconies, paid in full. My job, lead design associate on a historical preservation project in the Marais. I was 24. The kid they once said would figure it out had just been flown to Paris on a 6-figure salary and wasn't paying a cent to stay there. Meanwhile, Brielle had returned home. Her study abroad had ended, but her influencer career, not so much. Her follower count plateaued, brand deals fizzled, and one of her old videos resurfaced, the one where she joked, "My brother's smart but like, poor smart." It aged like milk. One afternoon, my phone lit up. It was a message from my mom. Mom. Hi sweetheart, we were wondering if you could host Brielle for a few weeks. She's planning a return trip to Paris, just until she finds her own place. It would mean so much to us. I didn't respond immediately. I read it again. Then once more. The same woman who told me we had to prioritize what matters was now asking me, the invisible son, for a favor. I finally replied, sure, tell her to meet me at 23 Rue Lemoyne, noon. What she didn't know, that address was the new creative space I had just acquired, the building right next to Brielle's old dorm. It had once been a failing tourist cafe. I bought it with my signing bonus and was converting it into a community art and design hub for underprivileged students. When Brielle arrived that day, heels clacking and sunglasses oversized, she barely looked around. Where's the apartment? She asked. This looks like a gallery. I smiled. That's because it is. She blinked. Wait, I thought you said, I said meet me here. I never said I was giving you anything. Her lips parted. You're joking. I handed her a printed application. If you want to rent space here, fill this out. Same rate as the others. No family discount. She scoffed. You're seriously doing this? After everything? I leaned in. Calmly, everything like Paris dorm over my degree, laughing at my poor smart life, or pretending I didn't exist for 4 years? She stood frozen, angry, exposed. You've changed, she muttered. No, I replied. I've just finally accepted the version of myself you all ignored. That night, Mom called again. You embarrassed her. She's crying. We're a family. I stared at the phone, then calmly said, you've never acted like it. Double quotes click. Weeks later, my story was picked up by a French architectural magazine. They ran a feature titled From Rejected to Renowned, the American designer who rebuilt his roots. It went viral. I never mentioned names, but people guessed. Suddenly, my inbox was full. Speaking offers, alumni panels. One email, oddly, was from my dad. Subject, proud of you. Message, saw the article. You've really made a name for yourself. Would love to visit, maybe catch up. Brielle misses you too. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded the email to myself, printed it, and framed it next to my degree as a reminder. Not of family love, but of self-worth. Because sometimes, when you're treated like a shadow long enough, you learn how to shine without them, and when they finally look up, the light burns their eyes. I never deleted Dad's email, but I never replied either. It lived quietly in a folder labeled proof. Proof that they only reached out when the headlines changed. A month later, my art and design hub opened. We call it the Forgotten Floor because dreams built in basements deserve to reach the rooftop. Local news covered the launch, then national, then international. I gave a speech beneath murals painted by scholarship students who had once believed they were less than. Now they had a key to the front door. I built this for the ones who were told they weren't priority, I said at the mic, because I was one of them. Brielle showed up the day after the opening. She didn't speak. She just stood across the street, watching people take photos in front of the mural that read, "Support isn't a gift, It's a responsibility. She left without a word. That night, a new message came from Mom. Can we talk? I ignored it. The silence didn't last long. She tried again 2 days later. We're proud of you. We were wrong. Still nothing from me. Until one afternoon, I received a thick envelope with no return address. Inside, copies of checks, large ones, to the forgotten floor. All signed anonymous. I laughed. They thought they could buy redemption like it was another Paris storm. I donated the checks to a refugee arts program instead, in my sister's name. Let them have their guild in the papers. Let them wonder why strangers thank Betrayal for her support of creative independence. Let the applause follow her down grocery aisles where she has no idea why people nod. Meanwhile, I kept working. I hired 6 interns from broken homes. I sponsored 10 degrees for kids who never met their real parents. I bought a townhouse 3 blocks from the Eiffel Tower. And on the door, I placed a bronze plaque that read, "This home was built by everything they didn't give me."